board continued to pay tribute to Minister in the Presidency Jackson Mthembu, who died of COVID-19 related complications on Thursday. He was 62 years old. As the country mourns his passing, we speak to those who knew him well. And joining us now is Deputy Minister of International Relations and Cooperation, Candith Mashego-Dlamini. And I do also understand that we are also joined by the ANC's Dakota, Legoete. Deputy Minister, good evening. I'm going to begin with you. Certainly, it's been a day of trying to still process, this death and the fact that this is such a huge gap that, is then left, particularly in government and within the ANC. And you listen to every political party that has spoken about, Minister Mthembu. They talk about how he was a true stalwart. Everybody talks about how down to earth he was. Everybody talks about just how hardworking he was. Certainly, it looks like he made an indelible mark across the board.
Thank you very much to the listeners. We just want to dip our banners to our late Comrade Jackson Mthembu. As Mpumalanga comrades and as Mpumalanga ANC, we really missed a person that was very useful, and also he has built us, as you say, us. Comrade Jackson Mthembu was known as Mjegejege. When things are tough, we're calling him Mjegejege. And at that time, he's a person that will take the right decision and take us forward. He was just a person that was really caring, really considerate. I remember Mthembu each and every time when we lost a comrade. Comrade Mthembu will share the tears because really it touches his heart. The way he loves all of us, he supported all of us. He listens stories, all our individual stories, our personal stories, and is a person that is so accessible and is a person that contributed dearly in the ANC of South Africa and also in the ANC in Mpumalanga. I know Jackson Mthembu in the late 80s, and he was a very good comrade, leading the Eastern Transvaal region of the UDF. So we started to meet Comrade Mthembu at that point, and Comrade Mthembu led us very good. And he also took us to the transition from apartheid to the new government. He was the coordinator of election and also coordinating the governments, the homeland governments that were there, especially the homeland government of Kwandebele and the homeland government of Kangwane. All those leaders were integrated by Comrade Mthembu to the ANC. So we want really to say that I don't think it's a person that we can replace. It's a person that is so irreplaceable in the manner that he was really a pillar of everyone. He was really a pillar of everyone, whether you are in a position or you are not in a position. This is the comrade that was listening to every one of us. I just want to say to the country, we've lost a person. We've lost really a leader that served the ANC with all his heart. And never hear Jackson Mthembu in any situation where he denounced his membership in the ANC. Whether it is tough, whether it is good, whether it's nice, is always smiling and say, comrade, Asien Pambi. So we're going to miss Comrade Mthembu. In the national government, I serve with Comrade Mthembu in a committee called the NACC. Definitely, I'm going to miss Comrade Mthembu. When things are tough in that committee, we'll always say to the secretary of the NACC, Babejel, so these are the things that really, at most of the time, when he do his work passionately, and he do his work caring, he take us through in every processes. And the ANC in Mpumalanga, really, we needed really to make sure that this comrade is emulated in everywhere where we stay. We are as we are today because Comrade Mthembu was there for us. Comrade Mthembu was supporting all of us.
And Deputy Minister, I'd like to bring in Dakota Legoete into this conversation. Yes. Dakota, certainly not an easy time. When I really watched that press briefing with the DSG yesterday, you could see how difficult it was for her to even hold back her tears, because this is a relationship that all of you have built with, Minister Mthembu over the years, and not only a commitment to the ANC, but a commitment to the people of South Africa as well, and it was evident through him.
Indeed, it was evident through Comrade Jackson Mthembu. You would know, Comrade Jackson Mthembu is one of the benevolent human spirit you could ever meet. He was a bridge builder. He was a reconciler. He was a parent. He was a leader par excellence. What I mean is that Comrade Jackson Mthembu, in all his time and all his great moments, he would want the movement to be one. His interest was the ANC and nothing else. And Jackson Mthembu, to show that you would not bank on Jackson Mthembu even if you do wrong things. Jackson Mthembu would only appreciate you as a leader if you do the right things, if you do things the ANC way. But once you get out of line, Jackson Mthembu would be the first one to say, no, my brother, ours stops here. The ANC comes first. The people of South Africa come first. And that was Jackson Mthembu for you. A principled character, a person who believed in his conviction. So there was no way that Jackson Mthembu would support anyone sheepishly, even if you do wrong things. So that's the Jackson would remember. The second Jackson would remember is that Jackson was a bridge builder. Even if when comrades would differ, it would be Jackson who would call you as comrades aside to say, let us find a better way and a better solution to these problems. And at all times, he would put the people of South Africa first. He was also a patriot. So whenever Jackson would come to you, he would say, my brother, if you fight like this, what about people who voted us into office? Some of them are sleeping without food. Some of them are there without job. Jackson would knock sense into anyone's head until you understand that we have an obligation towards ensuring that our people gets the best out of our leadership. And that was what Jackson would do at all time. Jackson was also a reconciler. You'd know many wrong things happened to him, but he would normally say to anyone, even if you did something wrong to him yesterday, tomorrow he will wake up Jackson saying, let's move forward. I can't hold on to that particular thing. And that is Jackson for you. So it's a terrible loss, devastating to all of us in the ANC, in the alliance, in South Africa, because you know that at the early stage of COVID-19, the champion communicator of government related to COVID was Comrade Jackson. Little did we know that the same COVID will end his life. But at least one thing we appreciate is that he has left a very clear message for us that we must ensure that we social distance, we put on our mask, we wash our hands every now and then for over 20 seconds. Those are the words which were communicated by the president, but further explained by Comrade Jackson Mthembu to the entire nation. And I think in his honor and in his respect, we have to ensure that we reduce fatalities related to COVID-19. In his honor, in his respect, I think it's going to be important for us as the ANC to focus. More than 3 million South Africans lost their jobs. And I think what we can do as a befitting burial to Comrade Jackson Mthembu is to ensure that we get our economy to work again. In his honor, I think it's going to be important for all of us in South Africa to ensure that we protect ourselves from this particular COVID-19, because now they are saying 7 different strains, and it means for any strain, you need a particular care. So the best it would be for us to ensure that all the COVID protocols as propagated by the World Health Organization are honored, and as said by the President of the Republic, President Ramaphosa, that we respect all those particular protocols to ensure that we honor this soldier, Comrade Jackson Mthembu.
And Mr. Legoete, I'm going to ask you just to pause there for a moment. We are going to continue with this conversation in just a moment. We have to go for a quick ad break. Let's continue now our conversation reflecting on the life of Minister Jackson Mthembu. Of course, you would have seen here on Newsroom Africa, we have been paying tribute to him and just getting, various people from all walks of life who've come into contact with him, just to share their tributes and also their memories of the late minister. And we're still joined by Deputy Minister of International Relations and Cooperation, Candith Mashego-Dlamini, as well as ANC head of, in fact, we don't have ANC head of organizing. We've got an ANC NEC member, Dakota, Legoete, who is still with us. And just before we continue this conversation, I'd like us to, listen to one of the moments, light-hearted moments, because one of the things about Minister Mthembu was not only his infectious laughter, but were also some of those moments where, you'd look at them as moments of mischief in Parliament. And certainly this is one of those moments that really, stands out for me, and one of those moments where I remember him. And I'd just like us to listen to this and certainly reflect on that afterwards.
Hola, Ringo, siyagodola.
Now ufuna sibhadale singabhadala ngoku.
It is true, Ringo, you are paid. Dola Ringo.
Certainly they're, poking fun at EFF MP Ringo Madlingozi. Deputy Minister, honestly, this was, the Jackson everybody knew, who really could make fun of some, any moment, or, even in Parliament.
Yes, no, it's a very jolly person. Even in a serious situation, I think Comrade Jackson Mthembu will really bring laughter. Like I always said, he was coordinating the homeland leaders. In one moment, in one meeting, then one homeland leader said, was just saying, no, you're supposed to attend the meeting at this time, but you're not pitching in the meeting. Then the member was very old. Then he said, no, Jack, fax the information. So we keep on saying to that leader, fax the information. So that, because the facts were new at that time, we didn't know what is it that this member was just saying. So we all laugh. When we meet that homeland leader, we always said, fax the information, Jack. So these are some of the things that was just a joke, but he was really mediating between the ANC and the homeland leaders. And we find each other, especially in Mpumalanga province, we find each other, but jokingly as he was, but he was really doing a very good work, and he was really trusted by those leaders, and they joined the ANC, and we campaigned with them, and in 1994, and we went to Parliament. And rest assured, when we were preparing the list, there's almost stress in the ANC, in the membership, when we're preparing the list to go to Parliament and so on. Comrade Jackson in one meeting just stood up and said, then they called a name of a certain comrade, then he said, Etulu, which means this person must go to National Parliament. And we're preparing a list, a serious list, to deploy people to different centers of Parliament and legislatures. So he was just doing his work jokingly, but things were done and everything went very smooth. So it's that type of a person. So we normally call him Etulu because he started to go to a national parliament in 1994. Then when we speak in our caucus in the province, then we say, hey, bantu baseTulu sebafikile and all that, because everybody that went to national parliament was just saying Etulu, which means you go to national parliament.
And Dakota, you know, as you alluded to this a little earlier on, and a number of people have been talking about it, he really was a man who wore his heart on his sleeve, because everything he went through, no matter how difficult it was, even in his personal life, he would take, you know, the media and even, you know, the nation, because sometimes when he addresses, it would be through the media to the nation. He would talk about some of these things more candidly.
Indeed, you know, one of the moments I remember about him, it's where after his child committed suicide. I saw compassion, fatherhood, parenting from what he told me. He said, Dakota Mkanam, you know, my child committed suicide, and I think the person to be blamed is me. He felt so sorry to an extent that he made an undertaking with me that maybe I'm poor in parenting, I'll have to focus. And as part of my focus, I'm going to leave alcohol, my brother. I'm no longer going to drink with you and other comrades anymore. You'll never see me, as part of my focus to ensure that I raise my children properly. So that was the type of a person Comrade Jackson was: compassion, loving, warm. Even if he jokes in his private space, he would be very serious on his reflections, on his points. And I saw him that time that this man means business. If the death of a child affected him so much to an extent that he needs to refocus his life, reshape it, so be it. And that is the type of Jackson you'd remember. Even in Parliament, I mean, if you recall, when he was the chief whip, there were more than 8 motions of no confidence against our sitting president of the NC. But in all instances, Comrade Jackson emerged victorious in managing to convince the opposition not to have a parliament collapsing and having elections in the country. And they managed to finish their term through his leadership and his his guidance, even to your hard-nut oppositions like Musimeman. There were many of them who were very hard, but easy to be convinced and to listen to the caliber of a person like Comrade Jackson. And I think his loss is not only a loss to his family, to Mpumalanga, to the ANC, to the community of Emalahleni in Witbank, but it's a loss for the whole nation, because in trying times and moments like we have now, where we have a global pandemic, where we have uncertainty of more than 3 million South Africans having lost their jobs, we need people like Jackson Mthembu, who can help us to build bridges, but also help us to talk and start a conversation. People who can, even during hard times, help us to smile and bring jokes and ensure that at all times people can cherish life without being angry at problems, but appreciating them for the good of all. And that's what we'd remember Comrade Jackson for.
All right.
I'm very moved by his life.
And certainly, I tell you, a lot of people, you know, have really been moved by his life. When you look at really what was, you know, the scenes that we saw earlier from his home, that drive-by tribute that was paid by some of those that worked with him, just to, you know, just leave some flowers and messages of support for the family outside. It certainly tells you the kind of individual that you're really, you know, just we've lost here. And I'd like to thank you both for your time tonight. That's Candith Mashego-Dlamini, who is the Deputy Minister of International Relations, and we also had Dakota Legoete, who is an ANC NEC member. We continue with tributes to Jackson Mthembu. We speak to former leader of the Freedom Fund Plus, Dr. Peter Mulder, in just a moment.